Hey guys, it is the Halloween season and it's my favorite time of year. So just about every year I put out a Halloween video with some candies and stuff like that. And not a lot of people have seen these videos, so I thought I would put together a little keto candy compilation video and do some updates on my older recipes, give you a little insight to where I was, what I was doing, what I plan to do, stuff like that. And so all your candy recipes are in one place. I will have timestamps to each video and recipe, and I'm not going to include the last 3 that I just put out. So if you haven't went and watched those for this Halloween, definitely go check those out. But without further ado, we are going to start with a little bit cringy of a video from 2020. Now, it was the pandemic and we had no Halloween parties. There was no gatherings of any kind really. So I decided I wanted to dress up and paint my face because that was a big part of Halloween for me. I always loved makeup, doing my hair, like everything artistic I have dabbled in pretty much. So, you know, I went into the pastry business because I thought I could make a little bit better of a living doing pastry art, but then I ended up in the restaurant business. So I still love doing face painting, doing my hair obviously. I used to knit, crochet, paint, draw, photography, all the arts. So I did some pretty elaborate makeup for this video. But here is my 2020 Halloween video where I made pretty simple candy recipes for Reese's cups and Twix bars. This only has less than 1,000 views, and I know why. I mean, I was just learning everything. I'd only been doing YouTube for not even 6 months, I don't think. So yeah, maybe 6 months. So without further ado, here is my candy video for Halloween 2020. Happy Halloween, video 2. My name's Alycia and I'm a sous chef with a sweet tooth. Thanks for joining me here. We're gonna be making some keto candy so I can enjoy Halloween too. Let's get started. And on to some keto candy. To start off my candy, I did a little bit of prep ahead of time. I used my shortbread cookie recipe, which I'll link that above there. I used it for my tag-along cookies, my peanut butter patties, Girl Scout knockoff. I thought they'd be the perfect cookie for a Twix bar. So I am using this mold. So I made sure that my cookie was the size of the opening there. And I'm going to make a makeshift caramel. I looked up some recipes online, mainly Pinterest. And a lot of people said cashew butter, it tastes like caramel. Well, I have no cashew butter, but I found this one recipe that was any nut butter and then a sticky sweetener. And I'm like, what can I use? Well, I got this in a keto crate. It is a salted caramel flavored syrup. So I'm like, that should work, I would think. And I got a bunch of perfect keto nut butters, and I'm not a super big fan of this. It's just macadamia nut with vanilla. So I thought using this with the caramel syrup, and then it says coconut oil. So I'm gonna mix all these together in equal parts. The recipe was a cup of everything, but I'm not doing that much. So half cup, and then a half cup of my coconut oil. We're gonna get in a bowl and microwave it all up and fill up our molds. Some of these nut butters have sweetener in them. This one does not, so I'm gonna use the full amount of sweetener. But I'd recommend if any of your butters you're using have like erythritol or stevia, don't use a whole equal part of sweetener in there. Almost exactly half a cup there. I do have another one, but I'm not gonna bust it open for this. Half cup of this sweetener. I also have Chalk Zero caramel syrup, so I'm guessing that would work too. Okay, half cup of that. Whoop, wrong lid. And then a half cup of coconut oil, which Mine is solid right now because it is not warm out anymore. So I'm just gonna try to, what's it called, when displace the liquid to try and figure out a half cup. Coconut oil is messy when it's not warm out. Just a tiny bit more, and I'm gonna pop it in the microwave. I'm gonna do 50% power like always, 30-second intervals. Okay, it doesn't look very caramely colored, but it smells very caramely. So we're gonna put this into each one of our molds and then top them with one of these little cookies, and then they have to freeze solid so that we can dunk them in chocolate. Top with these cookies. This is my shortbread recipe. It is down below, but I actually, instead of the stevia that I put in the original recipe, I put caramel flavored stevia in the cookie to make it a little bit more caramel forward. Hopefully that'll work. And if you don't have these molds, I would suggest just doing a layer of caramel in a pan that's layered with parchment paper, and then making a cookie that is that size that can just go right on top of it. And then once it's frozen, you can cut it into bars and you can get little Twix bars. I just wanted mine bite-sized. So popping these in the freezer until they're nice and solid. While those are freezing, I'm gonna get everything ready to make some keto peanut butter cups because they are by far my favorite Halloween candy. So I'm just gonna get some semi-sweet Lily's chocolate chips into a microwave safe measuring cup. Gonna be making quite a few, so I'm gonna add a couple teaspoons of coconut oil to my chocolate. That just always makes the chocolate melt better and become a little bit smoother. Then as we melt that, I'm gonna get my peanut butter filling done. 50% power, 30-second intervals, keep stirring, don't let it get too hot. So I'm gonna just I'm not gonna measure anything, really. I'm just gonna put some peanut butter in my bowl. Now this part's up to you. You could either do more coconut oil or you can just do butter, which I'm already doing coconut oil in the chocolate, plus I love butter. And then of course, if you buy keto peanut butter, you know that it is not sweetened. I'm gonna be adding a couple tablespoons of my Keto powdered sugar sweetener, and we're gonna microwave that. We're almost there. We only have a couple of chunks left. Might do another 10 seconds, and that's it. Now it's still kind of thick, so I'm gonna add a little bit more coconut oil to make it a little bit more runny. Now I did make Reese's peanut butter cups in another video. I'll link that up there for my Reese's peanut butter cup ice cream pie. But these ones I'm trying to make look exactly like Reese's cups so I can like kind of trick my brain into thinking I'm eating the real thing. So I'll show you how I'm gonna do that, but by all means go back to that video if you want a quick Reese's cup and do that one. Okay, so I have a muffin tin here with liners. I know they're not very Halloween-y, but I did not have any Halloween cupcake molds. So I'm gonna pour a little bit into each one. Start with the first 4 here. And then I am just gonna brush it up the sides a little bit. And that's it. Make sure there is a little bit of chocolate on the bottom. Or you can just tap them down a little bit and that'll get the chocolate down too. There you go. That's all there is to that. Tap them so that they get a little solid. I made some chocolate shortbreads out of that recipe. I just added some cocoa powder and they turned out awesome. They almost taste like an Oreo. So I'm gonna put this in a couple of the bottoms because I want to have like a cookie bottom Reese's cup. Try those too. I'm gonna do the rest of these guys. Okay, so we're just gonna wait for these to set up while we get our peanut butter melted. And we are gonna need more chocolate melted, so we'll work on that too while that other chocolate's hardening. And I forgot to mention, these semi-sweet baking chips They're not sweet enough for me, so I usually add some liquid stevia to them. I forgot to do that in the first batch. A lot of people don't like Lily's peanut butter cups. I think because they're not as sweet. I still like them just to have as a snack, but I'm making 12 here for the price of 1 bag of chocolate chips, which is the same price as 7 of the Lily's Reese's cups. So it's quite a bargain to make them yourself. It tastes good. I add a touch more sweetener, not too much. This is all pretty much to taste. Let's pop this back in. Okay, our Reese's peanut butter cups bottoms are solid. I'm gonna put a couple more cookies in here. See if it works better that way or the other way. Peanut butter's still a little warm. I'm just gonna do a scoop in each. Ooh, you know what would come in handy right now? See if this little scooper works. That'll work good. Give myself a spatula. Amazing how much is left when you just use a spatula. Spread some of these out. They all look pretty good though. Okay, time to pour some chocolate on top. Get them in the freezer. You want them flat like a Reese's cup. You gotta bang them. So we're gonna throw these in the freezer and then we're gonna pop out our caramels, get more chocolate melted, and dip our Twix bars. Okay, we're gonna pop these out real fast. Might put them back in the freezer while we wait for our chocolate, but wanna get these out of here. They look good. The cookies sunk a little bit more than I wanted them to. I wanted it to be like a Twix where it was just on top of the cookie. Okay, I'm gonna put these back in the freezer for a few minutes. Okay, my chocolate is all set. I'm gonna grab a fork to dip. The deeper the vessel, the better this is. Put it in upside down. Turn it over. Give it a couple good whacks. You want it to be kind of smooth on top. There you go. Okay, that's all of them. I'm gonna pop them in the freezer and we're gonna be able to try these soon. It's time to try our Reese's cups. They're gonna come off. Oh no. They're in the freezer, so I bet if we keep them in the refrigerator, they'll be good to go. Wow. That looks like a Reese's cup. That's awesome. Ah, it's like I'm eating a big Reese's cup. Mmm. And it's pretty darn good. Let's see if I can get a cross section of it. That's a Reese's cup. Another reason it's better than like a store-bought one that's keto, you get to control the sweetness of it. So if it's not sweet enough for you, add a little bit of liquid stevia and you're good to go. Now it's time for the Twix. So these look like little bite-sized treats. It'd be a little surprise because they're not in Twix form, but let's see how they taste. Mmm. Tastes like caramel. I don't know if you can really see it, but man, it's got the biscuit. It tastes like caramel. It doesn't really look like caramel because it's not caramel colored. That is delicious. I hope you guys enjoyed these sweet keto treats for your keto Halloween. There's no reason for you to miss out on Halloween. Just make sure you have some keto treats in your pocket and you'll be all set. So thank you guys for celebrating with me today. I hope you guys have a spooky Halloween and you stick to your keto diet like I plan to, and I hope I will be able to. And I will be back soon with more keto dessert recipes. Bye guys. Okay, so that was my first Halloween video I shot. I definitely am not as comfortable in front of the camera, for sure. That shortbread recipe, I have redone it and it is way lower carb, but I tried it for something else, and when I cooked it in a 9x13, it shrunk away from the sides of the pan. So I don't know if it'd be the best for a Twix bar. But it's funny because when you put it on a sheet tray and cook the cookies, it expands. So I don't know. I might have to do an updated Twix recipe with my new shortbread and try to figure it out. The sticky syrup and peanut butter, remember Perfect Keto used to have nut butters? They don't have nut butters anymore. I got a bunch of them when I first started keto, and they were really nice to have because they were in like little travel pouches. You can just like take them on the go, and they were great for camping. But that caramel definitely does work. But you'll see in later videos, I have a new chewy caramel and a new Twix recipe. So this was way before I had my overhead shot set up. And for the peanut butter cups, I did a really simple, it was kind of an impromptu video, I think. It was more like I just want keto candy for Halloween kind of thing. And I have figured out like a keto peanut butter dough. I have my Reese's egg video. So I'll link that up there for you. I think it's more the texture of the inside of a Reese's cup. So I would say you can do like the shell and everything and then put the dough inside and cover it in chocolate, and it'd be a little bit more the texture of a Reese's cup, or just make the Reese's eggs. Next up is 2021 Halloween video where I made Almond Joys and Mallo cups. So this video has a little bit more views, about 4,000. This was actually right before I got monetized and started making money on YouTube. It's kind of sad that 4 years later and I'm still not making a living, but that's another story for another time. I actually put out a camping video not long after this video where I was celebrating being monetized, reaching my goal weight finally, and I got engaged on the camping trip. So that video is up on my channel, so I'll link it up there for you. But a lot happened after this. I would have never have dreamt of my life going so fast shortly after getting monetized. But let's watch the Keto Mallo Cups and Almond Joy candy recipe. Hey guys, it's October, which means Halloween, and that means candy everywhere. So today I'm making some delicious keto candy for those coconut lovers. Almond Joys and Mallo Cups. So let's get started. Welcome back. If you're new here, thanks for joining me. My name's Alycia and I'm a sous chef with a sweet tooth. And here we make delicious pastries and candy, many from my time as a pastry chef. And my goal is to make the best keto desserts possible. So if you enjoyed these recipes, please consider hitting the subscribe button, hitting the thumbs up, and leaving me a comment. It all helps my channel grow and to bring you new keto desserts every Saturday. Today, candy. It's my favorite time of year. I love October. I love Halloween. So if you're a coconut fan, you are going to love these candies. Most of these are going to be going to my family because I'm not a huge coconut person, but I bet some of you guys are. So we're going to start with making the insides of our Almond Joys because those have to set in the refrigerator and chill for a while before we can coat them in some delicious Lily's milk chocolate. So I picked up this silicone candy mold. You can literally use any kind of pan. You can just make this into a big bar and cut it into squares. Super easy. I, of course, am a little bit extra and have to make them look just like mini bite-sized Almond Joys. But that's always an option. Super easy. Just layer it all out, put a layer of chocolate on top, chop it up. you're good to go. This is a super simple recipe. A cup of allulose out of my big tub of allulose that I just bought. This isn't even all of it. It's a big box. This is not super precise. We're not even gonna use all this syrup. We're just gonna add this to our coconut to make it nice and sticky in order to make it into little squares so that we can dip it in chocolate. So I'm doing a cup of allulose and a 1/4 cup of water. So I'm just gonna fill this halfway. The amount of water really isn't important because what you're doing here is boiling the water out and getting the sugar a little caramelized. So it's not super important that you measure exactly 1/4 cup. I'm gonna turn this on medium. Whoop, forget I'm not on a regular burner here. I need a spatula. You don't really have to stir this. I just get paranoid that it's gonna like burn on the bottom or something. Whoop. And then the pot is too small for this burner. The only other ingredient is a little bit of vanilla extract. I'm gonna put 1 tablespoon in here. I already have my almonds counted out. I'm doing 40 individual little candies. So I have 40 almonds here. And I already have my unsweetened shredded coconut weighed out. You want to have this all ready because it's going to go really fast. Once this sugar is at the right consistency, you're pouring it into the coconut and you're mixing it up to make like a sticky coconut, and you're going to put it in your molds. After your initial stir, I wouldn't even worry about stirring it at all. We're just waiting for this to come to about 260 degrees. These laser thermometers are very handy. I'll put the Amazon link down below for you. This thing has like been a lifesaver with all the chocolate tempering and the sugar work I've been doing. It's so easy. Okay, we're almost there. If you don't have a thermometer, you just want like it to be pretty thick and syrupy like. That's when you know it's ready to go. So we're at 160. 260. We're gonna pour some of it in here. We're not gonna need all of it. We're just gonna give it a stir. You want it a nice sticky coconut. And depending on the coconut you get, the carbs may be different. This is a Thrive coconut and it's less than the one I got at Walmart. So I don't know why, but these are a lot smaller threads of coconut. The shreds at the Walmart were like this big, which makes it actually kind of harder to do this. So you want it nice and sticky. And once it cools, it'll harden. We got maybe like a couple tablespoons left. I'm just gonna put a little bit more in. This was actually an accident that I experimented with back when I did my cocoa almonds. I had that liquid left and I'm like, ooh, this is nice and sticky. I wonder if I can put it in some coconut and make almond joys. And I did. So then I had to do some testing on portions and all that and macros for you. But it turned out awesome that day that I did it. If you haven't seen my cocoa almond video, I'll link that up there for you. Super good. My mom loved them. So I'm just going to take a teaspoon and pour it into each one. We're going to pat this down really good, and then we're going to top it with an almond. Probably would help to spray your teaspoon with a little coconut oil or avocado oil. I didn't think about that until now. You try to get them as even as possible, but it's not that big a deal. You gotta push them all down really good. Kind of pack them in like a bar that are a little light packed. You can add a little bit more to. Last little bit of coconut. See if it needs any anywhere. Press it down. Now if you want to be really precise like I like to be, you can push them down with an offset spatula and get it all nice in there. I'm anal though when it comes to making desserts. You do want it nice and packed though. Helps stay together that way when you go to dip them in chocolate. Okay, those look good to me. So carefully dip your almond in that sugar. Put it right on top. First time when I tested this, I put chocolate down, but that's just like an extra step. The sugar's not too hot now, but you need the almond to stick to something. It's easier this way. My fingers are getting a little sticky. You know, all our little almond joys are ready. If you don't care about them looking like almond joys, you can literally just chop up almonds, mix them with the coconut, mix in the sugar, put them in a pan, cover them in chocolate. Easy peasy. But I want them to look like I'm eating an almond joy, just like everybody else gets to eat on Halloween. These got to go in the fridge to set up completely before we can dip them in chocolate. Now on to our next recipe, the Mallo cups. So I have 12 cupcake liners in my cupcake tin. It just makes it easier. You can use any kind of silicone mold though, and it'll work. I just want them to look like Mallo cups. So I have 3.5 ounces of Lily's milk chocolate chips here, and I have a 1/2 ounce here to temper our chocolate. I have many videos on tempering. I'll link some up throughout the video. My hot cocoa bombs, that was like the biggest tutorial. It was like a 20-something minute video on how to do this. But I'm using a little bit of coconut oil in here. I'm just gonna heat it 50% power, 30-second interval until it gets above 90 degrees, and then we're gonna temper it and get it down to about 88. Okay, so I put all those in, and then it was 85, and I put it back in the microwave, and now it's 97. So I gotta keep adding milk, chocolate chips until it gets down to 88. Even I mess up sometimes. Whoops. Add a little bit at a time. Okay, we're at 88. We're nice and silky smooth. The only thing is if you add too much extra chocolate, you might have to add more coconut oil just to make it like runny again so that it's easier to work with. I'm going to add a teaspoon into each one of these. Kind of spread it out a little bit. All on the bottom, along the side. I have a couple different videos on this too. I made Reese's cups last year. I'll link it up there for you. And make sure you buy new cupcake liners if you happen to be like mine were and they were all smushed. It makes it much easier when your liners are new because I had a bunch of just indentations and it was just a pain in the butt to get them smooth, nice looking. Just make sure you're in all the ridges as best you can and pretty decently the way up. You can see they're not like really in the ridges here. Push up into the ridges. So I need kind of a lot on the bottom. The top, you can have a nice thin layer of chocolate. The bottom, you want pretty sturdy and full of chocolate. So I found the best technique. Put it in the bottom, spread it out, and just swirl it all the way around with your 1 teaspoon measuring spoon. Get all that chocolate really good and thick around there. And then go back and make sure there's no holes on the bottom. Did that pretty quick. They don't gotta be perfect. They're just for you and your family. We're not packaging and selling them. So I'm gonna pop these into the refrigerator and then we just gotta make the filling, which is relatively easy. So we'll get on to that next. We're gonna be remelting this chocolate because we need to cover the Mallo cups. So clean off your spoon so it's not just one big clump on there and set it aside for now. Yeah, onto the marshmallow filling. This is very similar to the last recipe because we're doing allulose and water again. And we're cooking it to 260 degrees, but we're gonna pour it into a whipped egg white. Have a container to catch your yolk. It's only one, so you can do it right into the bowl. Save your yolk. I'm gonna have a really delicious recipe coming up to use your egg yolks, so save them. You want that at room temperature. So we're gonna get that ready, and then a half cup of allulose to a pot, and 2 tablespoons of water. I always put it around the edge because you don't want allulose to crystallize. And doing the same thing, we're gonna add a half teaspoon of vanilla extract to these egg whites when the time comes. Oh, and you need your coconut ready too. 2 tablespoons or 15 grams. Now I know some of you guys may be wondering where the nougat is, and I figured this out when I was testing nougats. I have not been able to figure it out. It's really frustrating because I've done like 15 tests and none of them have gotten like solidified into like a nougat that you could like actually bite into. But someone mentioned on a Facebook group a replacement for Mallo cups because they love Mallo cups. And I'm like, you know what? I've never actually had a Mallo cup, but some of the testing I did, the filling was very similar to like a marshmallow. So I actually went out and bought Mallo cups and I did kind of try a little bit of it. I didn't really want to, but I literally have never had a Mallo cup in my life. So I had to taste it in order to recreate it. And I didn't even know there was coconut in it. And then, duh, I should have read the ingredients. But it's basically just a marshmallow cream. Keep a close eye on this. Whoa, we're at 260. You want your egg whites at stiff peaks before you pour this in. And so they're at soft peaks. A little bit more. There you go. If you don't talk while you're doing this, start your egg white when your sugar's at 230. We caught it right when it was getting to 260, so we're good now. You want this on high speed, and you want to get it right in between the bowl and beater going down the side of your bowl. You want to stream it in very slowly, and then you're just going to whip this until it cools. Okay, it's almost cooled. We're going to add a half a teaspoon of vanilla and whip it the rest of the way until it's about room temperature. Okay, it's about 74 degrees, which is fine. Now this is a lot thicker than the marshmallow cream we made. Like, it's not even coming off the beater. This is a much more stable cream. I'll leave some out on the counter and see how it reacts. I didn't leave any out on the counter in testing, but I'm sure you can probably use this as a frosting for cupcakes and such. It'd be delicious. We're just gonna add in our 2 tablespoons of coconut. Just mix that in. Unsweetened coconut. Shells are nice and set up. I'm gonna put your piping bag over your hand. Try not to make a mess. Scoop it in there. Oh, and I had my boyfriend try the Mallo cup and my cup side by side, and he said it tasted the same. So don't overfill your bag like me. Take some of that off. Always refill. Fill up your molds. Say go around the edge first. Make a good line. A little bit more. I have enough just for 12. First time I only made 6. I had a bunch left over, and then I was making random tests. Now you want a nice smooth top on top of the Mallo cup. Give it a little swoosh with your mini offset spatula. The better you pipe, the easier it is at the end. Okay, we're just gonna put these into the refrigerator while we temper some more chocolate. Our favorite part. Now I have my chocolate that I had already tempered. 4 ounces is what is put in the macros, because I believe that's pretty much what you use for the bottom of your Mallo cups. So I have this little bit here. We're gonna add 2 more ounces of milk chocolate to this and temper that, and you're probably still gonna have chocolate left over. It's always easier to work with more chocolate than less chocolate. Almost forgot the coconut oil. About a teaspoon. I almost said tablespoon. It's not a tablespoon. That's also in the macros. It might be a little bit higher in fat and calories than you're actually going to consume, because you're not going to consume all this chocolate. And I found that tempering in like a Pyrex glass measuring cup takes a lot longer. Just so you guys know, I switched to just a little plastic cup. It doesn't take as long. Glass holds on to the heat more, I think. So I was at 95 and only added 6 more chips, and we're at 88. So that's a gauge for you, but it all depends on your container and how warm it is in your house and tons of other things. Teaspoon again. Go around and around and around. Make sure you connect with the chocolate. Might be better with this kind of spoon. And it's easier if you go around the edges. Might get a little bit of Mallo in your chocolate up there. Okay, all our Mallo cups are covered. There's actually probably more filling in these than an actual Mallo cup, and each one of these is 2.25 grams of net carbs. I'm gonna pop these into the refrigerator, and we gotta get on to covering our Almond Joys. Okay, we're gonna start first with popping out all our little Almond Joys. Last night I did this one by one, getting them out of here as I was dipping them. Kind of a pain in the butt. So I'm gonna get them all out to start with. That way we can just dip and go real quick. Little Almond Joys. My mom is gonna be so excited when I bring all these over to her. I do love silicone molds. They make it so easy. This will also be linked below. I just bought it purposely to make candy bars. For candy bites. We're gonna put these in the refrigerator, and we're gonna temper 9 ounces of Lily's milk chocolate to dip these in. Okay, tempering again. This is 9 ounces, so a tablespoon of coconut oil. Let the process begin again. If you want to be precise about your macros, when you go to temper, weigh out and keep track of how much you put in. That way, after you're done dipping all of your Almond Joys, you can weigh out how much chocolate you have left, and you can get an accurate measurement on how much chocolate you actually used. Suggest starting with 1/2 ounces at a time, and as you get closer, just add a chip or 2. I took it to 100, so this is gonna take a while. Okay, we're at 88, so time to grab out our Almond Joys. The easiest way to do this, forks. I bought a dipping kit once. It was just a complete waste of money. Just use forks. It works just as good. Okay, the best way to do this is to take your Almond Joy, do it upside down, because you want that on top, and then flip it over. Tap, tap, tap. Scrape the bottom off, all the excess. Put it back down. You can even do a little swirl on top, make it look like a real Almond Joy. So upside down. Scrape it. And down on the paper. Just keep going until you got all 40 little Almond Joys. We are almost at the end here. Just want to mention, if you don't tap off enough of the chocolate, you may end up not having enough. You gotta get a really nice thin coat on every chocolate bar. I'm still probably gonna have about an ounce of chocolate left, but if you don't have even an ounce left, it gets a lot more difficult at the bottom of the chocolate. Like, I still have quite a bit of chocolate down here, but it becomes more and more difficult the less chocolate you get. And my candy bars are starting to get soft, so gotta quicken up here. And then I'm just gonna weigh out this chocolate. You don't have to put almonds on this, and you can do dark chocolate. That would be a Mounds bar. Also another option. You can also use semi-sweet chocolate chips if you want. This is where most of your carbs come from, is the chocolate. It's 2 grams per half ounce. So if you use the Lilies and you use 9 ounces, they're 1.5 for each little chocolate bar. Gonna pop these back into the refrigerator to chill for a little bit, and then we'll be back to try all these. Hey, time to get our Mallo cups out of the cups. Can obviously clean them up a little bit, or you can leave them right in the cups. They look good. They're definitely bigger than Mallo cups. I don't think they use a standard cupcake mold. We got our Mallo cups. Time to try one. Breaks like a Mallo cup. Definitely more filling. That's a Mallo cup. Sweet, soft, fluffy, a little bit of coconut, and messy, kind of like a Mallo cup. Those were delicious. Now on to our Almond Joys. They look so cute. And we got 40 of them. And it only took me to make these probably about an hour, not even. And you got 40 mini Almond Joys. They look so cute with the little almond on top. My mom is gonna love these, but I gotta show you what they look like when you bite into one. It tastes like an Almond Joy. So good. Sweet coconut, almond on top, just like Almond Joys. I hope you guys get to make these recipes for yourself for Halloween. That way you are not tempted to eat those Almond Joys that your kids get or you see in the grocery store. But if you prepare yourself, make some Mallo cups, some Almond Joys, my peanut butter cups, and my Twix bars. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite Halloween candy is. Don't forget to check out my Amazon links and the blog link to the full written recipe in the description box below. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And as always, I'll be back with many more keto dessert recipes. Bye guys. Okay, so I was a little bit more natural in that video, but the Almond Joy recipe is one I still make to this day for my mom on the regular, and also my father-in-law is like obsessed with them, and so is my mother-in-law. So they ask me to make them all the time, and I'm like, I just don't have time to make them. Like, I'm doing a million other things. But the Almond Joys, that syrup I made is basically like the thickness of a corn syrup. Like, it kind of replaces that in a lot of recipes. I've used it since in some other things. I've yet to come up with like a corn syrup recipe video because when it sits for a while, it ends up crystallizing, and I haven't figured out a way around that. I'm still trying to work with allulose and figure it all out. There's no school for keto baking, so it's literally just me learning as I go. So I've definitely learned a lot over the years, but there's still so much more, I'm sure, to learn. I'm still just as anal with my making of things. If you saw my last couple videos, you know. Even with having a toddler now, I try to loosen up with him as much as I can, but I do now have a chocolate tempering video, so I'll link that up there for you. I did one just dedicated video because I mention it in so many videos that I was just like, I need to have a place where I can just direct people to a tempering video. I also updated my hot cocoa bomb video because that video was a disaster. It was like December of this year and it was craziness. Like it was so much footage. I ended up like running out of space on my computer and it took me days upon days to edit. Like it was nuts. And it took me all day to film it. So I redid it and made it a little bit more clear, concise, and didn't put so many recipes in one video. Not long after this, I did put out a nougat recipe. So we'll be watching that next. Like I said, I still will be experimenting with allulose. I mentioned it being a frosting, the Mallo cup filling, and it will still get weepy. Like the allulose will still come out of the egg whites when it sits for a long time in the fridge or on the countertop. It's a problem I've been battling forever, but my fluff recipe, as soon as you make the fluff and if you put it onto a cake, it'll gelatinize, so it'll get kind of thick on the cake, but it will not leak allulose out. So if you want to use some kind of something for a frosting, I would say use the fluff recipe, but do it day before still because it starts to get yellow from the allulose. Like allulose is just crazy. It's a whole nother animal that I'm trying to figure out. Oh, and then I wanted to mention that you should always recheck packages of specifically chocolate chips or any keto product you use a lot in baking and stuff, because carb counts change all the time. They always change the recipes on these things. In the beginning, when I first started keto, Lily's semi-sweet chocolate chips said 0 carbs. And then all of a sudden someone told me on a video like, hey, by the way, it's 2 carbs for a half an ounce now. So like that whole time, all those videos before that, I said that, and then they changed the recipe and the back of the package changed. So always check the back of your keto products that you're using. Next up is the Snickers recipe, which I still can't believe how crazy it was to try and figure out nougat. Now this video came out pretty much right after the Almond Joy and Mallo cup video, but it has 58,000 views. This is one I should probably revisit, but I'm a little bit scared because I need my mixers. You'll see in a minute what I mean, but this came out not long after the last video. So let's get into the Keto Snickers video. Hey guys, coming at you today with the long-awaited Keto Nougat recipe. Just in time for Halloween, so it is time to make some Keto Snickers candy bars. So let's get started. Welcome back. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name's Alycia and I'm a sous chef with a sweet tooth. And here we make delicious pastries, many from my time as a pastry chef. And my goal is to make the best keto desserts possible. So if you enjoy these recipes, please consider hitting the subscribe button, hitting the thumbs up, leaving me a comment. It all helps my channel grow and to bring you new keto desserts every Saturday. Today we're making nougat. And you can use this recipe to make 3 Musketeers bars, Milky Ways, or what we're doing today, some Snickers. One of my favorite candy bars. I used to eat one for lunch in high school. Pretty sad. But now I can have some keto Snickers whenever I want. Now this recipe gave me a lot of trouble. If you have been following me on YouTube for a while, you know I've been working on this for quite some time. And it's not perfect because the caramel and nougat kind of seep out of the chocolate coating if you don't coat it perfectly, and they still taste delicious. Now, I don't know if any of you guys out there are gonna go through the process of making these, but I hope that you'll watch the entire video for entertainment value at least, because my mixer might crap out on me today because I did so much testing on this nougat and you literally gotta whip the crap out of it for like the longest time. So I don't think my mixer can take much more, so that's why we're making this video today. So let's get started on this recipe here. It's pretty simple. It's very like minimal ingredients. It's just allulose, water, and egg whites, some vanilla and salt. Like, those are the basic ingredients here. It's just the process that's kind of a pain in the butt. Which is why I think there aren't many keto nougats out on the market right now. So we're gonna start with 2.5 cups of allulose. Oh, and by the way, Snickers are basically just all sugar. I found that out. It's pretty crazy how much sugar I consumed all through high school. 2.5 cups of allulose, a 1/4 cup of water. Just want to wet the edges. You're bringing this up to 300 degrees. Figured this out because I was looking up tons of nougat recipes and they're all like 270, 280. So I tried and tried and tried. Didn't work because I forgot allulose you got to take up higher than regular sugar. We're going to turn this on as low as we can go on this burner. I did like a medium low on my regular stove. I just want to give it a little initial stir because there's a lot of allulose in there. It's all kind of moistened up. I'm gonna add a little bit more water to that. Did I do a 1/4 cup last time? I don't know. I did so many tests on this. You're just basically boiling off the water here and caramelizing the sugar a little bit. I have a little pastry brush with water that I use to get the sugar off of things around the pan. You don't want this caramelizing or crystallizing on the side of your pan at all. This is the first time I've actually had to use this method because boiling that much allulose, you tend to get it splashed up on the sides of your pot and it burns to the point where you cannot scrub it off. I use that to make sure I get any sugar that's around the edges down into the mixture. We're gonna add an 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt right to that mixture. Now hopefully my mixer does not give out on me today. The last test I was doing, it was getting really hot. We're going to put 2 egg whites in our mixer. Careful not to get any yolks in there. I need to prepare a pan for this to go into. Today I decided to do an 8x8 pan. I tried it in a bunch of different molds. I tried doing it in my candy molds. I tried just doing it on a sheet tray in a makeshift mold I made out of cardboard. It was all not quite thick enough, so I'm thinking an 8x8 is gonna be the best thickness for these Snickers bars. Now this nougat is very sticky. It is kind of hard to work with. I'm gonna give you a bunch of tips and tricks on how to do this. I really wanted a silicone mold, but I don't have an 8x8 silicone, and that would probably be your best bet because it'll just pop right out of silicone, but not out of a glass container. So I'm gonna use some tin foil, put it right down in there. Try to get it as smooth as possible. You don't have too many creases in it. And then as extra insurance, spraying with avocado oil. Said this stuff is sticky, so keep your spray handy. You're going to need it. We're gonna set this aside for now. We got a little while to go before we are gonna need this. So the trick here, we got our sugar going, our allulose. We want this at 300 degrees or around there. So I'm using my laser thermometer because I find it's the easiest. I did have a candy thermometer and it broke a while ago and I haven't pulled the trigger on buying a new one because I read all the Amazon reviews and you got good and you got bad and you never know what to order. So I'm using a laser thermometer. It's just easier to just shoot and get an accurate reading, which I don't know how accurate it is exactly because you get a lot of different readings, but where the flame is, it's going to be hotter as opposed to where the flame isn't. I see a bunch of crystals forming on top, so I'm gonna get a lid and just cover this and cook it for a little bit like that. But when this gets to about 260 degrees, that's when you wanna start your egg whites, and you want them at stiff peaks before we go to pour the allulose syrup into the egg whites. Okay, so we're almost at 260. I'm gonna turn this on and get it to stiff peaks. I'm not gonna be able to talk once I get this up to high speed to pour in this sugar. So when it hits around 300, 305, you want to get a couple readings around. You're going to stream it in super slow in between the bowl and the whip. You don't want to hit the whip. You want to get it right down the side of the bowl and stream it in super slow on high speed. Now we're at soft peaks. We're at about 300 degrees. We're at stiff peaks. I'm gonna turn this on high and stream in sugar. Then we gotta whip it for at least 30 minutes until it's cool. Okay, all our sugar syrup is in. I'm gonna wash my pot. We're gonna need it again for the caramel. I'll meet you back here when this cools. Pray for my mixer. My mixer sounds like it's struggling a little bit. Ooh, it's loud. I try to scrape down a little bit but it's very sticky, so I lube up a metal spoon. Try to scrape down the stuff that's cooled up top and get it down to the bottom. Do my spoon, and then I have a spatula that I lube up. That off there. Try to. And then keep mixing. And then once it gets down to about 80 degrees all the way around, I melt some semi-sweet chocolate and put that in the mixture, along with a little bit of vanilla extract. Okay, this has been whipping for about 30 minutes now. I keep getting a reading of just 120, but out of curiosity, my mixer's up to 108. So I'm gonna call it here. I've been scraping it down and it's getting solid like nougat. So I think we're okay. So I'm gonna add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla, mix that in, give it a scrape down. And I did melt my chocolate, but it was a while ago, so I need to stick it in there for a little bit longer and add that in. It's like goo. This is a recipe I followed for a knockoff Three Musketeers bar. They did 3 egg whites, 3 cups of sugar, and 3/4 of a cup of corn syrup. Crazy, crazy, crazy amounts of sugar that we're avoiding by eating this kind. Put it right in the bottom, because if you try and add it while it's going, it doesn't work very well. Tried that in a test and didn't end up with much chocolate in my mixture. Give it a whip. Give it another scrape down. You're gonna have a bunch of white at the bottom that's not getting mixed in. I hope some of you guys try this. It's a fun time. Your mixer hasn't been through multiple tests of this, so your mixer should do fine. I'm gonna spray this guy again. Has stuff all over me. And that's why we lubed up our pan, even though we already got aluminum foil. It is sticky. What's up, kitty? Maybe my kitty found a bug or something. It's already starting to harden, which is a good sign. Try to get all of it out of there. This is pretty much 0 carbs here, because, oh, we're making a mess down there. Lily's semi-sweet chocolate chips have no carbs in them. Allulose and vanilla extract. So I guess it doesn't really matter if you get all of it out, but you want to have nice thick Snickers bars. It's weird, it's like it hardens and is sticky, but then like it melts and like forms back into itself. When I was first doing tests, I was trying to add in like whey protein and stuff like that, and I'm guessing a lot of candy companies or, you know, keto Snickers or keto bars and stuff, they have a lot of whey protein isolate or soy. I bet that helps to stabilize it, but it also, they don't taste very good. And I'm gonna lube up a mini offset spatula. Should have lubed up my hands. You just spread it out, get it into the corners if you can. Even with it being boiled up, it still sticks to it. We're not gonna mess with it anymore. We're gonna pop this into the freezer, and then we'll get on to making the caramel, which is a hell of a lot easier, surprisingly, than making the nougat part of this. Now it is time for the chewy caramel topping on top of this nougat. So we're going back to our trusty allulose, because you know, any of our other sweeteners will crystallize if you try to cook it. So we're gonna use a cup of allulose here. Notice I'm not weighing any of this stuff because we're not baking today. 1 cup into your pot, 2 tablespoons of water around the edge. This you're cooking until a deep amber color. We're gonna turn this on to medium-low heat. Then you want all your other ingredients ready to go. My 4 tablespoons of butter is at room temperature, so I don't have it cut up. But if you're taking it right out of the refrigerator, which is fine, you just wanna cut it up into smaller chunks to melt easier. I have 1 tablespoon of heavy cream and a little bit of vanilla extract. And then we're gonna add 1/8 teaspoon of salt into our sugar mixture. And give this a little stir. Get it all moistened in there. This is the same recipe for my chewy caramels for my salted caramel ice cream. So I'll link that up there if you haven't seen that. That ice cream is so good. So we're just gonna let that boil until it's a deep amber color. I'll show you the color. Now, someone mentioned Serious Keto made a caramel sauce, and I watched the video. He says 330. And I've made it a couple of times since I watched the video, and when it was 330, it was not the color that I usually use for caramel. So I don't know if it's my thermometer or if it's just the allulose. I always was never able to get an accurate reading even when I use an actual regular thermometer in here. So I just go by color on it. It is a little bit more risky and harder to do than, you know, going by a specific number, but I'll show you the color that I pull this off at. It's starting to turn a yellow color. I'm getting 302, 317, 320, and it's nowhere near the color we need it yet. Just keep a close eye on it. You want it like dark honey. 340, 30, 344, 346. It's still not quite the color we need. And I'm going to cut it off there. Add in your butter and get it out. Ooh. It will foam up on you. And add in your 1 tablespoon of cream and your vanilla extract. And just add in your peanuts. Now, I just chose to do 2 servings of peanuts. You can definitely do more if you want. They're just kind of high in carbs for me, at least the back of my package. I was gonna look it up before I started and I forgot, but the back of my package says 8 grams of net carbs for a 1/4 cup. So I did 2 1/4 cups, 1/2 cup, or 60 grams. Now you're gonna wanna let this cool a little bit before you pour it on. When it starts to get thick, we can grab out our nougat out of the freezer and pour this on top. And I tried just pouring the caramel on and then sprinkling the nuts on top so that you have, like, you know, nuts on top of our Snickers. But the caramel hardened so fast that the peanuts pretty much didn't stick. So you gotta add it into the caramel. Starting to thicken up here. Once you pour this on, you wanna try to get it spread out as quick as possible. Okay, it's getting thick, so I'm going to get out our nougat. It's hard. Try to keep it somewhere that is level. Obviously, mine was not level. Now I have thicker parts and thinner parts. Oh well, it is what it is. Get it all like kind of scraped down to the bottom first before you go to pour. Already hardening. Get it all the way over. There you go. Get some peanuts over on this side. Okay, now I gotta pop this back in the freezer. Fortunately, this has to get completely solid before we slice it and dip it in chocolate. Okay, I believe our nougat is hard enough to cut now. I just wanted to show you my setup before I grab it out of the freezer. I got a paper towel. I'm going to spray it with a little bit of avocado oil, and I'm going to run my knife through it so that it cuts super easy and doesn't get stuck to the knife. I'm gonna keep that there to keep putting more oil on it if we need it. And I got a sheet tray with parchment paper. When we cut the squares, we gotta set them apart and get them back into the freezer while we temper some chocolate to coat them in. Here are our Snickers bars. Can we get it out of here? Woo, there we go. Last time I did this with foil, it came off. Will it come off again? Almost, just a little bit. There we go. There's our Snickers bars. Now, I haven't really decided what I'm gonna cut this into, so we're just gonna go and cut. Whoop, I let it get too hard. No. Okay, guess we gotta let it warm up for a minute. Whoop. It gets soft so quickly, so you gotta really time this right. It's already getting soft. So I kind of went off kilter here, so I guess I'll do 6. These are gonna be kind of weird numbers. See, it's already soft. We're starting to stick. Gotta get these right back into the freezer while we melt the chocolate. Oof. I'd rather have them too hard than too sticky. When they're too sticky, it's even more of a pain in the butt to do this. So we'll do some bite size, and I'm gonna do some like bar size. Like, there we go. There's the Snickers bar. So I didn't want to use my 8x8 because it has like the slanted sides on it. I'm not a huge fan of it because, I don't know, I wanted it nice and squared off. It is what it is. To sacrifice some to get some nice bars. go. Put these back in the freezer. And I'm not going to show you melting the chocolate, but you're probably going to need over 9 ounces of chocolate to coat these. And you can use any kind you want. I'm going to use milk chocolate because that's traditional Snickers bar. Be back to start coating these. Okay, so I tempered a bunch of chocolate in like a bigger container because this fits about 9 ounces or so, and I didn't want to have trouble stirring. I'm at 88-ish. Going to transfer it into something deeper because I don't want to be struggling to dip these guys. You gotta move quick because first off, the chocolate solidifies really quick because your stuff is frozen, and also because they start to get soft. So this is not an easy process. I wouldn't be surprised if nobody wants to make these, but I'm hoping you guys will stick through and at least watch the outcome because they are awesome. Let's get these out of the freezer. Okay. Let's do this. So the best way to do this is a little bit different than the rest. So you're gonna start with caramel up, flip over, bring up, tap, 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 and then you're gonna flip back over and smooth out the top. That's it. I found that if you do it the other way, it sticks to the nougat too much and you end up getting holes. It kind of sticks to the caramel too, but then you can smooth it out. Keep going with this. Doing some of these big guys. I haven't done a big full-size bar. Woo. It's not easy to get that thing to flip over. The problem, the chocolate hardens so quickly on these. I'm just gonna keep coating these. Be back to show you all of them finished. And then we gotta pop them into the refrigerator and we'll try them when they're a little bit more soft. Okay, I'm almost done. I had to remelt some chocolate. Almost used a whole 2 bags of Lily's for this, but you want them pretty thickly coated. So I had a nice layer right on top. Hard to tell like if it's all coated. I don't knock a lot off because when you flip it over it's easier if you don't have a lot there. If you knock too much off, it gets stuck on your fork and big pain in the butt. So nice coating of chocolate on all of these. You can do a little design on top if you want. And if you see any that have holes in them, before you put them in the fridge, cover up those holes, give a little dunk. Even the littlest holes, they'll seep out. It's definitely the best batch yet. This is batch number 3. I have like 100 and some pieces of Snickers right now. I'm gonna be set for a while. I'm definitely gonna keep some of it in the freezer, but these mostly have to be kept in the refrigerator unless you do coat them completely. Then they can be left out on the counter and they're delicious at room temperature. Tastes just like a Snickers. I'm gonna get these in the fridge and back to try them in a bit. It's time to try our Snickers. And it looks like most of them are coated. I did see one. Oh, there's another one. Oh, see a little tiny spot there. We got caramel and nougat seeping out a little bit. It is delicious still. It just oozes out a little bit. If you don't want that to happen, just keep them in the freezer until you want to have some, or you want to just keep like a little bit in the refrigerator at a time. That way they don't get all messy on you. I'm gonna cut one of these open. Looks like a Snickers. So good. That's so good. Sweet, caramel, nougat. Tastes like you're eating a candy bar. Just in time for Halloween. I'm so happy that I finally figured this out. So if you make 40 chocolates, I ended up using 390 grams of Lily's milk chocolate. So I figured it out with those macros. The peanuts themselves, I looked them up on Carb Manager. 60 grams was only 8 net carbs. I don't know what's wrong with the package that I have that it says it's 8 for only 30 grams. That's the only carbs in this besides the chocolate you use. So whatever chocolate you use is what's gonna determine your carb count in this. So my whole batch, all of these, is 64 grams of net carbs. But if you divide it by, I got about 38 pieces. If you count these as 2, they're only 1.6 grams of net carbs each. So these ones I'll probably figure are 2, 2.5. These big guys are 3. It is what it is. It's Halloween and we want our chocolates, okay? These are mini Snickers. So I hope you guys are daring enough to try this recipe at home. If not, thank you for watching at least. It was a lot of hard work to try and figure these out, so I appreciate all you guys watching. Don't forget to check out my Amazon links and the blog link to the full recipe in the description box below. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And as always, I'll be back with many more keto dessert recipes. Bye guys. Okay, that was doozy of a video. I literally, in the last recipes I just did, the Butterfinger specifically, I watched a lot of Bon Appetit Test Kitchen with Claire, and she actually made Milky Ways. And she had a lot of the same problems I did with making a nougat and trying to figure it out. And she was just making a regular nougat, not even a keto one. So I kind of felt justified in my struggles when I watched that episode, because it's really not easy. But I also said I used to eat one every day for lunch with a Diet Coke when I was on Weight Watchers. If you saw my last videos, I mentioned in my candy bar recipe about that. But I also said I can have Snickers anytime I want, and I don't think I have made them again since this video. So I really should revisit this recipe, even though it was such a headache and it is messy and it's hard on my mixer. Especially now that I know more about allulose, I definitely like to see what I could do, if I can make it better and stuff like that. I don't know. It's kind of a daunting thought to redo after watching this video. But if you haven't watched my videos I have just put up, I mentioned the caramel and Series Keto, bringing it up to like 330 and stuff like that. If you haven't watched my other video, I want to mention it here, that the size of the pot does matter. And I didn't swirl the caramel very much in this video. So now a lot of times I swirl as I take the temperature, because like I said in the video, you get different readings all over the place. And that definitely hinders you getting to the right temperature and pulling it off at the right time. And also, if you use a tiny pot, it's almost impossible to get it up to the temperature you need. I think because the allulose is like getting real hot on the bottom, but not hot on the top, and it's not mixing together. So you end up missing it when it is 350, because your thermometer is only reading the top of the allulose and the bottom's getting real hot. So I definitely not suggest using a small pot whenever you're cooking allulose. That is the best way to try to be able to get it up to the temperature you need for whatever recipe you're making. He said I will try and revisit allulose. I've been working a lot more with allulose, trying to figure out different things. And also I want to figure out the whole oozing of the allulose out when it's in caramels and nougats and stuff like that. I'm guessing there's some kind of stabilizer I can add to minimize it. It's just figuring out ratios and the right one to use. But even high key, I bought some high key turtles, I believe, online, and I got the box and they were like individually packaged turtles, and you opened it up and all the caramel was oozed out of the chocolate. So it's not only a me problem, it's even big company problems. I'm guessing Chalk Zero figured it out because they have like a Twix bar and stuff that isn't, you know, seeping out or anything. I'm guessing it has something to do with the soluble corn fiber that they add to stuff, but I'd like to find another alternative that I can add to stop that from happening. We'll see. Next up is Twix and Turtles. So this is a redo on a Twix using the caramel from the last recipe, but still the same shortbread, and making turtles. This is in 2022. It has 11,000 views, and I was 7 months pregnant, I think, at the time when I shot this video. Doesn't look like I made any candy videos last year, and maybe even the year after that. I don't know. I don't know what happened during Halloween time in the last couple of years, but this is the final candy recipe video that we're going to be going over. So let's get into the Twix and turtle recipes. guys, it's that time of year again, my favorite time of year. I wish I was more dressed up for the occasion, but it is coming up on Halloween and I love my candy, which is why I have several recipes on my channel already. And some of them are pretty old, one done during the pandemic, so I actually did my whole makeup and everything. I'll leave a link up there if you want to go check those out. Now, I've made Twix before, but it was like with a sickly sweet, like pre-made keto sweetener, and you added cashew butter to it to make like a fake caramel. But now I have an actual caramel recipe. So today I'm going to be showing you Twix Bites and Turtles. So let's get started. I'm not going to go into grave detail on tempering chocolate because now I have this guy, which heats it up to the right temperature. And then it'll hold it. I'm going to turn it down once all this is melted. And it'll hold it at the right temperature for dipping our chocolates. So I will link several videos throughout this video on tempering chocolate. I've explained it in so many different videos. So today is just going to be how to make the base and then some tricks on dunking chocolates, especially these ones. Okay, to start off, I have my oven preheated, well, preheating at 300. You're gonna want like 325, 350. You wanna, if you're getting just raw baking pecans, you wanna toast these up a little bit. We're making little bundles. We're gonna do 24. To make 24, I wrote down 6 ounces. I just want them in little clusters. You're going to pour caramel over them and then freeze them and dunk them. I do have some chopped pecans. I like the pecan halves better than using chopped, but you can do that too. 0.2 more. There we go. So that's 6 ounces. We're going to just toast these up for like 5 minutes or so. And then for the Twix, I got these guys. I've also done them in rounds. Pretty much any little cavity one will work. It'll just give you different amounts and you might have to vary how many you make and all that stuff. But this is 40 and we're gonna make a crust to go on the bottom. We're gonna bake it and then we're gonna make the caramel for both this and the turtle at the same time. So the base recipe is going to be my shortbread crust. It's my original tag-along cookie. I think that was the first recipe I used this for. I'll link that up there for you. My delicious Girl Scout cookies that are like my favorite, and I haven't had a chance to make them yet. Probably a good thing I don't because I just eat them all. But I need 2 tablespoons or 16 grams of egg white powder. This is why I always say to weigh though. It's going between 6 and 7, but that was 1 tablespoon. Our pecans. Still only 14. That's why I hate the fan. Well, we're going to put those into piles again. Okay, 48 grams or 1/4 cup of a granular 1-for-1 sweetener with sugar. I use classic monk fruit erythritol. Then 55 grams of coconut flour. Be almost a 1/2 cup. That was 7, so 8.5-ish. That's why I just hate going by the back of the package because it's never correct. So all we're adding to that is a little bit of melted coconut oil and some liquid caramel stevia. We need 60 grams of coconut oil. Okay, we're just going to melt that, add some stevia, and mix into our dry ingredients. Whisk these together. I'm pretty sure egg white protein is what gives it the crispiness of a crispy cookie. I've heard people switch out the whey protein in my recipes for the egg white and it's worked. I haven't tried that. I would think it would make it crispy, but who knows. 1/2 teaspoon. You don't need caramel. You can use vanilla or just regular unflavored. I just figured we bump up the caramel flavor a little bit. And then you just mix this into here. The reason you put the stevia in there is that you can kind of like mix it in with the oil as you're mixing the wet so it gets dispersed evenly. Basically, you're just making like a wet sandy paste. You're gonna squish into all these cavities. That's it. Here's your dough. I would like to find a less carby shortbread recipe because each one of these Twix is 2 carbs with the chocolate and this crust. Okay, I preset my oven to 350 and I forgot a 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum. So we're just gonna have to sprinkle it over, try to mix it in. Don't do what I did. We're gonna try, I didn't do this last time, but I'm gonna try and do like a teaspoon of crust in each one and see where it gets us, because it was a pain last time trying to get them even. I probably could go back and watch my video or read my Twix recipe, because I use the same shortbread, but I use different molds, so. What is everyone gonna be for Halloween this year? I still have no idea. Got invited to a Halloween party. I'm like, don't know. I looked up pregnant Halloween costumes. I didn't really like any of them. It's like 1 teaspoon is gonna be right. Fortunately, I haven't found an easy way to do this. I don't really think it'll help, but then it won't get into the corners. And it doesn't spread out at all when you bake it. You gotta make sure it's even. Go in and pat it down all the way around. Now you can do this in a sheet pan. I would say not even a 9x13, probably an 8x8. But you can put the crust down, bake it, put the caramel down, and then cover it in chocolate. But as soon as you cut into it and take a piece out, your caramel is gonna ooze, even in the refrigerator. It like has a mind of its own. Allulose never hardens. It always stays liquid, so your caramel will start oozing out no matter what. I haven't figured it out yet, how to get it to not do that, which is why I haven't brought you Millionaire bars yet, which is basically this, but in bar form. But my caramel oozed everywhere. Even though I doctored it to hopefully work, it didn't. So you can try doing it in a pan, cutting it and dunking each piece, but I would say keep it in the freezer, have a really hot knife, because it gets sticky real easily. And then you can freeze them again and then dunk them in chocolate if you want to do it that way. These are going to go in the oven for, I'm going to say 8 minutes. We're going to do 4, turn them, and see how long we need. Okay, that was 8 minutes. I'm going to go 2 more. Well, I'm just golden brown around the edges. The whole time, I was just putting together my pecan clusters again. Ugh, annoying. You can also do this in a silicone. You can just fill up cavities, 24, and pour the caramel over. I'm just trying to show you the easiest way with the least amount of gadgets involved. Ow. Okay, so my book said 7 to 10 minutes. I don't know if you can really tell. They are getting golden brown around the edges, only slightly. That's what you want. That took 12. But again, it's electrical oven, so a lot of times electric goes slower than gas. Once these are done and these are ready to go, we can make our caramel. So I've done the Twix a couple times. I need a double batch of my chewy caramel for the Twix. I need 1 batch for the Turtles. So I need 320 plus 160 is 480 grams of allulose, or 3 cups. But I always get more, like it's supposed to be, I've measured it out with tablespoons, and it's usually 10 grams per tablespoon, which would be 16 tablespoons in a cup, 160. But when I do a whole scoop, it's usually more than 160. This is supposed to be 1 cup, 204. I think it all depends on how many clumps you have. Like there's like big clumps of allulose in there, so that's what makes it inaccurate, I think. 480. I'm gonna put a tiny bit of water around the edge of this, just to moisten the sugar a little bit. The more water you put, the longer it'll take to evaporate and caramelize. I usually do this on my induction burner at 280. But it can go really fast or really slow depending on the amount you have in here. But I'm gonna get everything else measured out while I wait, and I'll be back when I show you the color it's supposed to be before you add the cream, butter, and vanilla. Give it a stir or just give it a swirl. Melt everything. So on an induction burner you will get the sides done before the rest. So that's all ready to go when our caramel's ready. We're gonna need a whisk standing by, ready to go. Caramel is getting there, but with induction burners it'll be bubbling, 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 and then stop bubbling. Forgot I'm doing 3 times batch, so it's taking a lot longer than it normally would for 1 batch. I might turn it up because I'm impatient. You want this at like 350-ish. It's like amber. It needs to get a little bit darker amber. You almost smell it when it like so dark. It's almost on the brink of burning. It's a lot different than regular sugar. I like flame. You can like lift it up and still kind of heat it gently above a flame. I'm gonna call it their really dark amber color. Add in your cream. Careful because it will bubble up. Whisk, whisk, whisk. And add your butter and vanilla. I'm gonna pour it into another measuring cup, make it easy to pour. There's our chewy caramel. Okay, I had a customer, so I gotta do this quick now. Whoop. Each one. Okay, so you definitely want to do the Twix first because you want this a little bit cool to pour onto the pecans, otherwise they'll run everywhere. But you get a lot of air bubbles. Probably doesn't really matter that much, but I know they're there. Fill these right up to the top. But I take a toothpick, kind of pop all the bubbles, but I'm anal like that. Probably is not going to make any difference. It just looks different when you bite into it. See any that can be filled more? Fill them up. I'm going to pop these right into the freezer. Caramel does start to get thick pretty darn quick. Just start by pouring a little bit onto each one, then you can go back and pour more. Because then it kind of spreads out too much if you pour too much. And kind of push the caramel back a little bit. Once they're frozen too, you can kind of squish them together. Good. Pretty much want the pecans mostly covered. Caramely treats. Yummy. Well, these are going to go in the freezer for a while. I'm going to pop out Twix. Get to dunking soon. Gotta work quickly with anything that has this caramel in it. Some of them might not be ready to pop out either. Get the ones you can out. Might need more time. Tell you, oh, they're not ready. Okay, well, we're popping these back in the freezer. Not quite ready. Probably dunk these guys. We can probably get these out. Okay, these are pretty much ready to go. Let them freeze for a little bit longer and then we're gonna dunk them. Okay, I have some semi-sweet chocolate here that I have at about 88 degrees. I'm gonna put a little bit of caramel stevia just to sweeten it a tiny bit. We're gonna at least dunk the ones we got. Okay, so trick to the caramel is caramel down, flip once. Oh, don't drop it. Tap, 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 tap. Get as much of the excess chocolate off as possible. Wipe the bottom of your fork and set it down. Oh. Try not to touch any of the other ones. Sometimes you get air pockets. You want to cover those up. If any of the caramel shows, it is going to seep out. If you watch my Snickers video, you'll see that. I'll link it up there right now for my Snickers. You don't want to let them sit in the freezer very long out of the mold because they will start deforming. They don't stay in their shape. They kind of ooze. Even though they're solid, they still ooze in the freezer. Don't know how. They do. Okay, these can stay in the fridge now, but I'm going to put them into the freezer. Get the other Twix onto here. Finish the rest of those later. I put more coconut oil in the dark because it's a little bit harder to get like more liquidy. You want it runny. So I just kind of estimate the coconut oil. You obviously don't want too much because then it's going to be like super melty when you go and eat it. You want enough so that it's like smooth at 87, 88. It's obviously, it's going to be real thin when it's real hot, but when it gets thin, you know, down to 88 degrees where you want to dunk, you want it runny. I'm just going to put regular stevia in this one. You never want to add too much liquid to chocolate. If you do, it could seize on you. Now time to dunk some turtles. These guys, same thing. Go down first and over. These you want to coat a lot more on the bottom because there's caramel on the bottom too. So you don't have to tap as much off. I got a customer, so I'm gonna have to come back later. Okay, well, I got some of both dipped. My chocolate is now too cool, so it's rewarming because I was with a customer for quite a while and I didn't put my chocolate back on before I went and helped him. So we're gonna try a Twix bite and a turtle real quick, and I'll just dip everything else a little bit later and take pictures. It can't stay out too long out of the refrigerator or freezer because they will start melting. So I just grabbed one out for now. I'm gonna try it. Crispy cookie, chewy caramel. Can't go wrong. Tastes like a Twix. It's so good. I'm gonna grab out a turtle. Now, each one of these, if you make 24 and use 8 ounces of 1 carb per half ounce chocolate, so whatever one you choose, if you choose one that is 1 carb for a half an ounce, 1 net carb per turtle. Nutty and caramely. You can do this with any nut too. Don't have to cheat on Halloween. I also have Reese's cups, Mallo cups. What else did I do? Mounds bars or Almond Joys. Got a lot of options. Same thing with the turtles. They start melting if you have them out too long. They are so delicious. I hope you guys enjoy these 2 candy recipes I created for you, and hope you stick to your keto diet plan over the Halloween season if you have some stuff on hand when those kids come home with their big bag of candy. That's the hardest part. The temptation's always there, especially if you have kids. So let me know in the comments below if you have tried any of my candy. If you're going to try these guys, let me know. Don't forget to check out my Amazon links and the blog link to the full recipe in the description box below. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And as always, I'll be back with many more keto dessert recipes. Bye guys! Okay, so as you can see there, I was very pregnant and shooting in the bakery was definitely not an easy thing to do. I really don't like how I shot all those videos because it was just shaky and I didn't like not being able to talk to the camera. I just had like a thing around my neck that was like a camera in front of my face and I couldn't really see what I was doing half the time, and I always had to stop for customers, and I also had to do all my other work there, and it was a rough time. But I got through. I put up a recipe video every week, I think, of when I was in the bakery. Even when I gave birth, I think I was putting up videos. I think I took a couple months off afterwards. But I do have a new lower carb shortbread. Like I said, if you didn't watch the beginning and you just skipped to this part, I do have a new shortbread recipe where I swapped the egg white protein for whey and still get a crispy cookie. It was just all in the measurements, and I think it has to do with the sweetener more than it does the powder. And I mentioned in that video that people have mentioned that they've swapped the whey in a lot of my recipes for the egg white protein, and it's worked, and vice versa. But I found that is only true, I believe it's only true for like crispy cookies, because I've tried making like my cake recipes with swapping the whey for the egg white, and it hasn't worked. I've been trying to find a swap for whey protein in my fluffy baked goods for a while, and I haven't found one. But I have found out that you can make a crispy cookie with whey protein and without the egg white. There are still recipes I want to revisit with that, particularly my graham cracker recipe, I believe. I have revisited my shortbread, and I've made a really crispy Nilla wafer with whey protein. So if you're into crispy cookies, I'll link up my vanilla wafer cookie up there. I ended up being just a cat for Halloween, like literally just like black ears, and I did a little nose and whiskers because I was very pregnant and I just wore all black. I couldn't even like fathom dressing up, and I didn't like any of the costumes anyways. But that's the last candy video I have for you. I looked back at my archives of October videos, and I think the reason I didn't do a candy video in 2023 was because Van was like 8 months old, and I only had someone watching him like 2 days a week, so I had way less time to do experiments, and my brain was still not back to normal. I still don't think it is completely, but it's doing a little bit better than it was back when he was first born. So that was that year. And then last year in 2024, I had started shipping in September. And I think I was just so consumed with trying to figure it out. And like, I was doing test shipments, and I was talking to a website guy and trying to figure out ShipStation and Wix and how to integrate them, and you know, figuring out shipping options and boxes and packaging and all that stuff. So I think that's why I didn't do candy last year, but I got back to it this year, and I was really happy that I was able to get Butterfingers, Paydays, and a super easy customizable candy bar recipe that can be made into whatever you want with whatever nuts and seeds and stuff you want in it. Check out those videos if you want some more candy recipes. I hope you guys enjoyed this little keto candy compilation video, and you continue to enjoy all my recipes. Don't forget to check out my Amazon shop page where I have lists of all the ingredients for everything I have in this entire bakery. I have in lists on my Amazon shop, so if you're looking for a specific ingredient, definitely check out my curated Amazon shop, which will be linked down in the description box below. Along with, I'll be putting all my candy playlists, my candy recipes, even ones that weren't in this video, I'll be putting them down in the description box below. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, I'll be back with more keto, low carb, healthy meals, desserts, and snack recipes. Bye guys. Happy keto candy making, and happy Halloween.